All right, good morning. Here is a review of something that's really good to do every Monday morning. So first, I usually go into active employees, timesheets, and then right-click, open with preview, and just make sure that everybody has a new timesheet for the week. And the dates are correct. And it's a good thing to check and make sure that all the employees in here are still active employees. This is a good time to move those when that sort of personnel changeover happens. After that, going to billing and just start in the current month. And really what I'm looking for is just any sort of errors. At this point, if somebody hasn't input their information, there's nothing that I can do about that, but just looking. So you've got 12.5, 12.10, 12.5, 12.10, 1 and 1.5. That's all getting transferred correctly. This is here. This is something to look for because remember it got deleted for some reason. We couldn't find any reasons for. And it's showing that those two dates actually got transferred. So that's cool. And so 4.5, 3.25 here, 12.12, 12.12, monthly report. All right, so that one's good. And you'll just do this throughout all of the different clients. And now moving to DHW. Actually, let me do it this way. The preview. So the date is correct here. It's correct here. So it's correct. So checking the dates first, making sure that everything that needed to get sanitized got sanitized, that the date and year is correct, that these have been cleaned. Also checking this column. Sometimes, and I don't know why it is, but sometimes these cells will end up blank. And if it's blank, the thing to do is to go back to the billing folder, go to Billing Master Templates, open up the DHW log, anytime there's a correction to the script or anything, it gets updated to this log. And all you want to do is highlight, copy, and then go to the one where it's been deleted. So anytime you need to move data from an, a log that has an error, you always do it from the master template instead of from another like client's log. And if you get lax at doing that, that's a good way for a lot of error crossover, for an error to get pasted from one sheet to another. So always do your corrections from the master sheet. And so we're going to go back, open. All right, so then go back and check last week's. And there's nothing recorded whatsoever. look at monthly report. 12/1. So it looks like there's only been one service date in the month of December for Andy. But in here, we have 12/3 for December. Again, it's just a good, that would be from this week. So we have 12/2 and 12/3. And then nothing for this week. So let's look at here. And we've got 12/3. So I'm going to go back to this log, 12/2. And all right, so now I'm going to open this because we found something that didn't transfer. So on the active sheet where we found something that didn't transfer, we're going to go here, and this data does need to get transferred. So we do have things that need transferred. So with this sheet active, we're going to go up to DHW Tools, and we're going to push this to success ratio. We're going to look here, and you can see that it corrected it. And that's as easy. I don't know why it didn't happen. Maybe the data didn't get put in time, but these are just easy ways to check. So now that we've also seen something didn't transfer from this, let's look and see if we have the monthly report copy from 12/2 and 12/3. So we've got 12/2, 12/3, 12/2. All right, nothing from 12/3. Let's see if there was something input and it just didn't get transferred. So here we're going to go to version history, see version history. And 12/2 is when. Right, I like to just show everything. All right, so 12/2, we've got Tracy and Lorena. Got copy there. And we've got copy there. All right, let's see what we get for 12/3. Got copy there. And nothing for 12/3. At least not right there. So we're going to go, of course, to the next one. So we don't have ratings there. And it's 2 if observed. Now we have ratings. So there should be. Okay, so now we can see that there was copy. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this right here. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to monthly report. And I'm just going to paste it right in. So now we've got it. And could I tell you why it didn't transfer? No. But if you really wanted to investigate that, all right, then we're going to go to app script. This is where the app lives. This is where the script lives. Down here, you're going to go to executions. Now we have a nightly trigger that pushes all that data to success ratio and monthly reports. So we noticed that on the night of 12/3, nothing got pushed. Nothing got pushed. And it's not letting us go back. So we have to do this within the week. It only really does 7 days. So if you miss that 7-day window, you're not going to be able to see what the log says, right? Let's just make sure that, okay, so this is saying that the triggers have a 0% error rate. So troubleshooting is not necessarily straightforward, as you can likely see. So just consistently looking, and yes, even though we have these automations, as you can see, sometimes they just don't work, and that could be from electromagnetic pulses, glitches. So it's something to stay on top of, and it also cuts out a lot of work, but it's not flawless. All right. So the important thing is if you check every week, then you're staying up on this. We've got nothing for that date. And then going back to this week, also just checking is, oh, I'll show you something else. So employee name right here, these are all the names of the employees. And I already took myself off of there. But update employee dropdowns. Anytime you have employee turnover, all you got to do is run update employee dropdowns. And I'm going to show you where that data lives that it's pulling from. So going into the billing folder and going to the master balance sheet, auto update data tab, all of the employees and their initials go here. So when you hire somebody, this is the first place you put their full name and their initial, and that's where those employee dropdowns, this is where it's being pulled from, as well as all of the other columns. All right, so we'll get out of that. And if, let's say that it had the wrong date here, it was that, all you got to do is just double click the right date, and instead of doing each one individually, you can highlight both the date cell and the empty cell as one, and then just pull it across, and it updates everything. All right, so that's checking the first log and making whatever corrections we needed. All right, dates are accurate there. Everything's cleared. It's been sterilized with the new prompt put in right here. That's something that I check for. Date, month is correct. All right, so now we're going to look back on last week. On the 9th, we have ratings. It's been sanitized. That's great. So we need ratings to show up on the monthly report data for 12/9. And we've got that. Shouldn't put the date in there. And let's go down here. We've got 12/9. All right, so that one's good. We love to see that. And now we're going to go to EES. So nothing, let's look at last week. One of the things that you want to check is started with 100, build 12.5, 12.5 from 32, 19.5. So we want to make sure this 19.5 got transferred over as the starting value, and it did. So if you check these weekly, then you don't have to like go through 56 different tabs when you're doing a quarterly review or anything like that. Making sure that, so let's open this. I'm going to open it because I want to show you what drop downs are there. So employee initials on the master balance sheet that you just saw, you can see that this is definitely not updated. So, and this menu drop down here should be available to Lorena, I think Deidre, Tracy, and myself. And so what you're going to do is update all drop downs. Now, let's say that this was filled in, and you might get this. That's common. Make sure you check all of that. All right, now I triggered the action of update drop downs, but I didn't have authorization yet. So now that I have authorization, I got to go back and trigger this. If this row was already filled out, it's not going to overwrite. Let's say that Jenny provided a service and this was all filled in. It doesn't overwrite something that's filled in. So now you can see that it's updated and it's got it reduced to the correct initials. All right, so let's look at last week. What do we got? Build 12.5. So we've got 9, 10, 11, 9, 10, and 11. So we should have ratios for 9, 10, and 11. So 9, 10, and 11, we do have that. And let's see, monthly report. We've got data transferred for 9, 10, and 11. Great. All right, so that one's correct. We're going to do that. I'm not going to go through and update all the drop downs on each one of them. You can go ahead and do that. It'll be good practice to kind of get familiar with what the drop-down tabs are. So we've got 4.25 hours here billed. So the 9th and the 11th. Again, so we're going to look for the 9th and 11th. Oh, we don't have the 11th. All right, so 9th and 11th. Wasn't that it? 11th. Okay, so this one we're going to open up. Drop downs. So we've got it on the active tab was the 15th. If we use a drop down now, there's nothing to push. We're on the wrong tab. So we got to have the tab that we want the data transferred from active. Again, here's update all drop downs, and you can run things concurrently. Let's see if it gives me authorization. Send to monthly report. And since we know it didn't do the success ratio, we can do that as well. We'll just send to monthly report. So success ratio, 9th and 11th. Now it's got that. Let's go to monthly report. 9th and 11th. Let's go back to success ratio. And let's say that you wanted to know what, let's say we're 3/4 of the way through the month and you want to know what the percentage is for this. Here, calculate selection. So this is how at the end of the month, when I want to, let's say this is 43% and I want to make sure that that's accurate, I'm going to do this. And so 43%. And what I like about this is it tells you what cells you selected, how many ones, how many zeros, total rated, and what the percentage is. So this is at the end of every month. This is how you double check. And if you do this at the end of every month, then when it comes time for your bigger reviews, you already know that it's been reviewed. Yep, 87, so that it's been reviewed and it's accurate. So again, it's just kind of consistent weekly. Monday morning review is super, super powerful. All right, so that one's accurate. Let's go to the next one. 52.5. 52.5, so that got transferred over well. And I'm going to pause the recording here and only pick up once there's something that I want to show you how to work through. I found something that I want to show you. So here I am on another log, and here we have ratings for 8th, 9th, 10th, and 12th. But in the success ratio, I'm seeing 8th, 9th, no 10th. All right, so I'm going to go back to the sheet that I want the data transferred for. Go here, push sheet to success ratio, and then watch what happens. So it's going through the week. You see that it did transfer the 10th and then it overwrote it, but it's also got here, it's got 12/9. So it's doing it twice. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this whole row. Then I'm going to go back. I'm going to push it to success ratio. And let's just see what happens. Okay. So there was just, I don't know, something in the glitchy. So these are things to look at for. It overwrote 10 last time, but when I deleted the rows, then it transferred it correctly. So these are some of the little troubleshooting tips. You kind of got to just, there's no really a clear linear path. You're just going to try some things. So had that not worked, then I would have gone into the script and looked at the error logs, and we would have had access to the error logs because this hasn't been more than 7 days. And I would have worked through it through that approach. So now I'm going to look and make sure we've got 8, 9, 8, 9. I don't see 10 in here. 8, 9. I don't see, oh, I see 10 there. So there is an entry for 1210 for objective 2. I'm going to go back here and make sure, well, I can't. I'm going to have to go into file history. So version history. was the 10th. There we go. So no notes that day. Let's see when she was in it next, on the 12th. Okay, so she just didn't enter notes for the 10th. So now we know there's nothing, there was no error on that, and this one has been double checked and is good to go. Okay, so I've got another one where we have ratings for the 9th and the 12th, and they transferred correctly over in success ratio, but for monthly report, I'm not seeing the 12th. I'm only seeing the 9th. So we're going to go back, open it up, file history. We know that we want to do it after the 12th, so let's see. And it doesn't look like there's anything. I've got ratings, but no comments. Nope. Okay, so they just didn't put any comments justifying their ratings. So there's nothing that the script did wrong, just wasn't entered in. So that's that. Now also, when you're verifying timesheets, so we're going to go to the timesheets. And we're going to look at for this week, and we're looking at JS Bales. So 12/9 and 12/12. So we have 12/9 and we have 12/12. But let's say we didn't. Let's say that didn't get, for some reason, it just wasn't there, right? So you're going to be on the active sheet and you're going to push hours to timesheet. This is just a manual override. Now, this one sends it to last week's timesheet, which is what we're looking at. We're already in last week's timesheet. So you're going to push it to that, run the script, and just come over here. I don't know what that is. And you can see now it pushed it over. So sometimes that happens. Again, these are things that whoever does the timesheet should be checking. And let's see what else we got. Update employee dropdowns, we can do that. Sometimes if you want to lock or unlock an active tab, protect sensitive sheets, you have to be admin to do that. Remove all sheet protections, that sometimes helps. Reorder DHW logs. So when this week's tab got created, what it does is it's set for only this week and last week, so that when you're on your phone, you don't have to try to figure out, it just orders everything. And then incident report is what an employee would need first, so that's why it's readily available. But let's say things have gotten out of order just for whatever reason. Here is just reordered DHW logs, and it's going to start from the beginning of the year, and it's going to put everything in chronological order. And so then when you and it just, you can see now it's incident report, monthly report, success ratio. It's reordered it. And here's one thing, like let's say that you need, for some reason, you need to know what the inputs were for November. So you've got that highlighted. You're going to go here, export selected rows to PDF and email. Oops, we're going to cancel that. Now I'm going to show you, this is the template that it will do, and you'll get an email that says this. Hopefully it canceled that. Now I'm going to show you how to find who actually gets that email. All right. Notification email right now is me. So I'm going to make that admin. During the crossover, when I actually come off, you can just write over here. If you wanted to make Deidre added in here, you could write Deidre. Approved users. So these approved users are the ones that have the drop down available to them. Okay. And the who gets the email was me. So we changed that to abundance. So now that we've added abundance as a notification email instead of me, notice we're in a client folder. We need to Control All, Control C for copy. And then we want to go back over to the master template, because remember, the master template needs to be the most accurate, because that's where you're always making your corrections from. When something has failed, you want to go back and copy the correct script portions. So here we are in the master template. We're going to go to extensions, app script. And you'll notice it's got this script here, and this is grayed out. So we're going to delete everything, Control V to paste, and now this save button is highlighted, which means there's a change. Now I'm going to save this. If this was a new log for a new client, you need to go in here and create all triggers. So I'm going to show you where the triggers are. This is the triggers button. In the master scripts, never set up triggers, because that means it's going to run the script, but it doesn't have any data. Like there's no client for this to get transferred to. There's nothing for the data to get transferred to. So in the master scripts for the master templates, we never should have a trigger, because we don't want it to actually be active. So we're going to go back to editor, but let's say this was a new client. You're going to make a copy. You're going to have the client's name, all the data in here, right? They're going to have the need to know link to it. This was a new client. You need to set up the triggers. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. Create all triggers. And you're going to run that. And it's telling you exactly what it's setting up. And then if you want to go to triggers, you can see this now has triggers. But again, this is the template, so we don't want that to happen. So anytime you're retiring a log, you need to clear the triggers, because a retired log will still fire every Monday and every night. And that can cause errors when it's moved to different folders and things like that. So we're going to clear all the triggers, run that, deleted, and we can verify that by going to triggers, and everything's gone. So, but what we ended up doing was that correction to send the mail to admin is now in this script. And so the appropriate thing to do is now take this and copy it to every DHW log, so that you're getting all of the updates. Came to REITs, and this log keeps giving us, it's one that gets the dates wrong pretty consistently. And so it's Monday morning. I know that this should be 12:15. This is the only one that's inaccurate. So there's a couple ways that we can do this. Because I have an update to the script anyway, I'm going to be replacing this script because it has the emails being sent to me right here. And we've got that change. But first, I'm really curious what's going on. So I'm going to check its triggers. It's saying error rates of 0. All right, so we're going to go into the log. And this is important because we may end up having to check out with chat, see if it can help us figure out what's going on. So we're going to go to Monday wrap up because it's during the Monday wrap up that the next week's log is being corrected or created. And this is just telling you everything that it's done. So every Monday, this is what gets done. It does one update, one more final update to the timesheets. And so everybody that it's found, it pushes to timesheets. It's doing a final transfer to monthly report, clears the narratives from 12/8. Then it says start, current date, 12/15, this Monday, 12/15, tab name 12/15. So that's all correct, right? New sheet, 12/15 created. Has the date, 12/15. It's applying rules in the cells. Completed for 12/15. There's absolutely nothing in this log that says it created anything that says 12/14. All right. I know I need to make that email update, and I literally could just type in abundance here, but I'm also really curious if I delete this whole thing and I paste in, actually, yeah. So I just updated the mail log. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to look and see if this at all was ever 12/15 and changed. Because none of this just doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to go to version history. Nope, it's just I don't know why. And here's got to give it its assignment, right? You are a Google Apps script expert working on Google Drive. Your role is to analyze and optimize scripts that are already currently running. The following script is creating a consistent error. The rows that are getting updated for the new log are consistently in the log report stating that Monday's date is correct, but in the actual log, the output is actually putting in the date for Sunday. We are on Mountain Standard Time. This is the same script that's working correctly in identical logs, but for some reason it's backdating it and placing, for example, 12/14/2025 as Monday's date when it's actually 12/15/2025. Please analyze the screenshot, the log report, and the script, and give me options for troubleshooting. At this point, I don't want you to produce any script updates or function updates. Let's look at why the log report and the actual output do not match. And so what I've done there is I've told it what its identity is and what I want it to do and what I understand. One of the things that people get frustrated with, and I did early on, was because AI is trained on, the majority of human intelligence. It has a PhD in everything, and it really needs the user to give it clarity on what data, what intelligence to pull from. And it can be more helpful if you tell it exactly what its identity is and what you want the output to be. So you'll notice that I said I don't want you to provide any script updates or function updates at this time, because what it will do is it will just provide what it thinks will be a solution. But again, we got to go back and forth and kind of troubleshoot these things. So I'm going to go ahead and hit um, so on here, it's you hold shift and then enter. If I would have just hit the enter, it would have sent it, but I need to do some information. So like right here, I'm going to show it not the participant name, but here's the service row, right? And that's row 5. So we've got the screenshot. I'm also going to go back to here, go into the script, and I'm going to copy the entire script. Go back to chat, and I'm going to paste the entire script, and then I'm going to hit shift, return, a couple lines so it knows that it's something different. I'm going to go back to, come on, back to here. I'm going to go over to executions and Monday wrap up, because this is really, really important to provide with it every time you're trying to fix something, because this will tell AI exactly what the script says it did. And so it'll be able to look at some of the logic. All right, so now I have provided it a screenshot of what I'm seeing. And I'm also going to go to a log that's correct. And I'm going to also provide that. Please see screenshots. One has the correct date in B5, and the other is incorrect. Though both logs have the same script. And because it's Monday, I'm also going to do this. I'm going to delete this. This is another option you have. So I'm going to delete, because there hasn't been any data added to it. So create this week's log manual. I'm going to run that and see if it still produces the same error. So let's name the tab correctly. You can see that here. It's still filling it out, and it will reorder it. So it's going to be pushed way over here. Created it. All right, so we can, come on now. I don't know what it's working on. That's annoying. All right. Well, I don't know why it's showing the working thing, but let's look at the executions. So create this week's log. So because I've gone through troubleshooting a couple times with this, I'm also going to provide chat. I'm going to say I deleted the incorrect log and ran the manual drop down. Got same results. Here is the log. So I'm just giving it a lot of great data. So let's see what it comes up with. So let's see from your screenshot. And I'm not going to read this to you, I'm just going to let you read it. Okay, so it's giving us go to File, Settings, General Time Zone. All right, let's try that out. File, Settings, General. All right, Pacific. That might have been, oops, save and reload. Okay, so we've changed the time zone. I'm going to see if that works. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to delete that sheet and create it again. And it looks like that worked. So how silly is that? It wasn't a script error, but it looks like a script error, right? And so those are some of the funny little things that you end up discovering as you learn how to troubleshoot.